Hello, everyone. Welcome to the OLM working group meeting. Today is the 17th of October, and we will start off with check-in for the briefs and the RFCs under review. Looks like there's a OLM V0 graph deprecation delegation brief that is under review with a consensus date of the 20th, which is in 3 days. Anybody wants to elaborate on anything about this, or? Jordan's the author. Looks like most of the conversations have been resolved. So yeah, the lazy consensus date is in 3 days. If you have anything burning that you want to bring up, please do so.
Hey, Jordan, I'm just curious, is there any specific feedback you're looking for at this point, or you think it's good to go as far as you're concerned?
It's good to go as far as I'm concerned. If we hadn't been involved in other issues, we would have already gotten some legs under us on this one.
So are we saying that we should be moving this under ready?
No,
I don't like to move it up, but we
Okay.
consider it fertile ground for development at this point.
Okay, cool. Okay. So starting off the meeting on a positive note, that's great. Okay, so there's no more briefs and RFCs that we want to call out.
Well, I will, Anik, I will call out that there is the one I had that I posted last week, I think, the user RBAC management. Yeah, so the lazy consensus date on that is the 25th. So that is a little more than a week from today.
Okay.
Can one of you copy that up to the current agenda just so?
Yeah, I'll put it up there.
All right, thanks.
I just didn't want to write it, and then I just want to mention it quickly, and then yeah.
Cool. Anyone else? No? Okay, moving on. Old action items checkpoint. Clean up DEPI milestone. I think Mikolai pair.
Yeah, we cleaned it up. There is currently a milestone which is called oh damn it, how it says 0.02, I believe. Which contains just one issue, a bug about error message being non-deterministic. So there is this milestone, but I did not set any date for the milestone due date. So I don't, I'm not sure what would be the approach for dates here. But other than that, yeah, we cleaned up all the old issues and milestones. So hopefully we'll get better view of what's on the radar at the moment.
Yeah. Does anyone have any strong opinions about the date?
No strong opinion other than we should try to do it pretty consistently like we do for the other projects. I have been putting iteration, like if you look at the OLM V1 project, there are iterations that have sort of 3-week windows to them, and I've been somewhat aligning the when I create milestones, I've been somewhat aligning the project milestones with the OLM V1 project iteration dates. So you can take a look, Nikolai, and see if something makes sense. We probably need to go and create the next iteration because I think this one ends like this week. So if if we think we can solve that one issue this week, then we could put it in the current iteration. Otherwise, we can just create iteration 3 and have it scheduled and teed up for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, thanks. I will take a look. Probably I won't have time to look into this week, but I don't know for sure. But I think with DEPI, keeping this 3-weekly cadence might be challenging, but because I think we are not doing a lot in DEPI at this point, at least. So there's not much going on. So I'm not sure whether having this stable release cadence makes sense. But in controller, operator controller, it does absolutely. We do a lot of things there, and we can release every 3 weeks or so. But with Depi, it's probably not going to work like that. But yeah, I will take a look at the iterations. Thanks for the suggestion.
And maybe while we're on the subject, if anybody is interested in helping me spec out what we're going to put in iteration 3, that's probably something we should do this week. So that we have more than just this week planned out. So maybe Alex and Catherine, or Gavin and Kevin, or whoever, or if anybody else is interested, we should get together separately and figure that out. But if anybody else is interested, we'll try to announce it and talk about when we're gonna have more discussion on it, if that works for everybody.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Moving on then. Discussion topics. Okay, someone wants to. There's no so I don't know if this is from folks who haven't had.
I can take this one on.
Okay.
So we had, I think there was some discussion last week about how we want to do our dates and stuff for RFCs and briefs. And essentially what a few of us landed on, and we wanted to sort of state this here and see if anybody had any major disagreements, but essentially what we want to make sure is that we're communicative with the whole community, and that there's a consistent place that we do this communication, so that anybody who wants to be aware of what's going on always knows where they can go and look. And on the flip side, anybody who's writing RFCs and briefs always knows where they should be announcing it. So the proposal essentially is that we'll say that it's mandatory for RFCs and briefs to be added to this agenda document before you can set a lazy consensus date. And then we would highly recommend that you also post in the Slack channel OLM Dev in the upstream Kubernetes Slack, just to make people aware. And then as I always say with PRs as well, like if you're not getting reviews, then just keep posting in Slack and keep bringing it up here if you can make it here, so that you can raise awareness and solicit reviews of these things. Does anyone have any major disagreements with what I just said? If not, then I think we'll set this more in stone.
Does it make sense to add the link to the Google Drive that has our RFCs and briefs to the channel, like one of the pinned links on top? Because yeah, we have all of these announcements in sprinkles in the agenda doc.
So it'd be good to include that link in the top as reference, but in and of itself, a Google Drive link does not do a good job of communicating the status or the life cycle stages of the content. So having it in our meeting agenda helps communicate that better.
Yeah, slightly orthogonal topic that I brought up because it was already in my mind, but yeah, okay. Cool. It doesn't sound like anybody has any major disagreement with this. Then Joe, I remember last time you wanted to take on the approvals, the matrix of the other life cycle of the RFCs. Did you want to take this on? I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot. Or does someone
I
else
was
want?
certainly involved in some of the follow-on discussions. This, I think, is what Chris brought up last week, because it was unclear what approval meant. We had some more discussion, and I think Gavin wrote the text that's here. So I don't know if Gavin, you have any specific takeaways that you had.
Well, I mean, I put this in here exactly because of this conversation from last week. So it's essentially just going through this on the brief. An assessment matrix section was added that captures some of the salient points that were made with regards to the reviewer name, the date that the reviewer made, their comments, whether the disposition is accepted or rejected, and whatever comments the reviewer wants to make. And it's as it being in the document, then it can be referenced and addressed directly. There's another sort of, so that's that section, the first bullet point, to address from last week. The other bullet point is there's still sort of this outstanding notion of determining consensus, which this matrix would probably be a big help toward, but it's still an open question to the group.
Yeah, I think this would, like, if we had a place that everyone could record their yay or nay, then obviously you would have like a documented place where you could see like, yeah, it looks like we got a whole bunch of yays here and maybe 1 or 2 nays. I think the other question that we were grappling with that we haven't gotten an answer on because things sort of went crazy this past week with some CVE stuff, but the question of like, what do we do about one of the fields that's at the top that says approval versus status? So I don't know, Gavin, if you thought we got to a consensus on what we were going to propose there. I don't think we did yet. So maybe that's just another follow-on that we need to continue the conversation about.
Certainly. So my take on this is status is essentially author-driven, right? So the author takes it through the state transitions to reflect what the status of the document is. And the authors, they own this document. So this is part of them pushing this document through the stages and so on. Separate from that is approval, which, I don't want to mince a lot of words, with whatever synonyms we can have, but it is essentially capturing the community or outside disposition of whether this is something that the community wants to move forward with or not. And having it as the approval state is a succinct way of capturing the overall consensus that the assessment matrix may play a part in of the group. And so if we don't separate them, these things have been conflated, at least in my experience in using this method. So separating them is actually a good thing. And it does separate sort of who's acting on the document. That's the background.
Seems reasonable to me. I think maybe it's just a matter of terminology then, making sure that it's more clear that it's sort of a community consensus approval rather than somebody has the approval hat that they wear.
Certainly, yes.
Okay, so I guess the main question here then is, Andy, you've got your hand up, so I'll let you go.
Thanks. So in the Kubernetes enhancement proposals, their statuses range from provisional, implementable, implemented, deferred, rejected, withdrawn, and replaced. I would recommend that we follow that pattern because essentially what I believe are signifying by the meaning of approval is that it's implementable. And I think that if we do that, should hopefully clear up a lot of confusion here.
Andy, the one thing that's different maybe about KEPs that we don't have a control on really is there's like an owner's file in the KEP repo that is essentially like the author can submit a PR and then the owners, who are ostensibly different people, can actually approve and LGTM it. So I think that sort of covers Gavin's sort of separate author versus prover situation in a way that we can't really do with Google Docs. I like the CAP process in general, but I wonder if Google Docs is hamstringing us at all in this.
I mean, I think just if we change the name to implementable, that's enough for me.
Yeah. Implementable doesn't necessarily mean that this is something you really get decided to, right? It just means that you can type it in and write some code.
I think there's an
I-
evolution in the CAP process where implementable also means we're okay with this being implemented.
I see.
My gut feeling is that we're talking about this more than we need to. So I think let's just do something that seems reasonable, whether we say approved or implementable, doesn't really matter to me, but let's try not to make this heavyweight.
So then I'll say let's go with this, and if we find that there's some fatigue, then we'll deal with it. If not, sweet.
Sorry, what's the this here? Because
The verbiage. It's essentially a question of verbiage. So
have you agreed on
whether it's excuse me?
have you agreed on something? I couldn't get that out of the conversation.
I think, and Andy, I don't want to speak for you, but I think Andy says it's not a big deal. So let's choose a way and just go with that way. And I'm adding on to that yes, we can also reserve the right to revisit this if there is fatigue with the verbiage.
So let's do this. I'll take an action to go and make sure that Gavin and I have something that we've changed that seems to address what the original question was around the verbiage, and we'll talk about it next week. That work?
Sounds good.
Oh, okay. So if there are no more discussion topics, I mean, I'm gonna pause here for 30 seconds or maybe 10 seconds to see if anyone wants to bring up something that's not recorded yet. Okay, 5 seconds seems enough then. We will go in for the milestone check-in. First up is catalog D, v0.8.0. Okay, so the update here is, I don't know if you went through this last time. Bryce's unpack with direct registry client PR has gone in. So now we don't do the pod log based logic of unpacking and then reading from the pod logs. Now we're using a direct registry client. And then the polling, the PR is up. I just right before this meeting, I pushed up an update and tagged the folks who were reviewing that already to start a second round of review. And then by the end of this week, I'm hoping that we'll be ready to do a v0.8.0 release. There are 4 in progress issues right now. I'm hoping that they're very close to getting merged. If not, we will move anything that's remaining to the, I think the polling is the only remaining critical, I'd say, for v0.8.0. Anything that's not done can be moved to 0.9.0. Any questions, concerns about anything that I said about catalog D?
Yeah, Onik, for 139, is that open only because of 118?
Yes, there's no, actually there's one, yeah, there's the 118. Yes, you're right. It's only open because of 118.
Okay, thanks. As a follow-up, I don't know, Catherine, if you've had any time to look at 118. I assume you're looking at that since you're assigned to it. Are we confident that that'll happen this week? Do you, like, I haven't seen any PRs. I know we sort of went back and forth about how exactly we want to do that, but I'm curious, like, how we're feeling on that issue.
It doesn't look like Catherine is in the call.
Sorry, lost my window. So I think I think Rashmi's been working on this, but we've also just been busy with other stuff and haven't had any progress on this for about a week, given the other stuff we've been focusing on.
Okay. So should we bump this out, or do we think that this is still something that'll happen this week?
I mean, I think if we're trying to just cut a release, yeah, let's just bump it to the next one.
Okay. And then lastly, do we need to have any more discussion about it, separate from just the back and forth on the issue or any PRs?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Thanks.
Cool. Okay, so then I lost the catalog milestone. Okay, cool. So we'll bump this one out, and I think we can close this one out too, right? We've had this open for a while because of 118, but essentially the title of the issue, the epic of implementing content storage plus serving, that is done. So is there any objection to
I think
moving?
we should leave 118 in there because without it, we've essentially removed features from human users who would have been able to look at catalog metadata that they can't really easily get to right now, especially if we don't even have docs for it.
Okay. So, we'll just move this out to the next, both of these out to the next milestone, but keep them open. And if that's the consensus, then once they implement the polling story goes in, I don't know why this why. Okay, so this is probably the same. Oh, this is just the story for this epic, I think. So once this one goes in, we'll be ready to cut a v0.0 8.0 release. Sounds good.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on to operator controller 0.7.0. Looks like there are 5 closed issues and 2 open issues. Anyone wants to speak about this? Have questions, concerns?
Yeah, I can give a quick update on firmware upgrade age generation support. It's the PR is up. There is it received some feedback. There is, I think there at the moment there is feedback related to testing strategies. We'll look into that tomorrow morning, and yeah, I really hope that we can wrap it up by the end of the week. But we'll see how it goes with the remaining feedback.
Cool. Okay, last. Okay, anything else about this milestone? No? Okay, moving on to Ruckpack. Yeah, so usually I think we have notification that says skip milestone for Ruckpack and Depi, but I don't see that right now. So I'm assuming that we want to check in on Ruckpack. v0.15.0, this is empty.
There is one thing that Kita is currently looking into that's not tracked here, which we should probably. I'll visit this today and clean this up. Okay, so if we can make that a to-do, I'll add that as a to-do item, and I'll do that. But the thing that Ankita is looking into. So right now we have we added that bundle deployment health work, which basically lets you understand if some component in the bundle failed to reach like a deployed state. And that's like done with custom logic. There was an interest in going and using a third-party library. I believe Ankita and Joe have decided to go with some tool. Ankita, what's the name of the tool? It's like K-status or something.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're going to use that tool rather than maintain our own logic. And so we'll make sure that's tracked, but that's basically the state for Rockpack right now.
Yeah. Okay. And then Depi, I think we already did a little bit of that because of the old action items checkpoint. There is this milestone. Mikolai, I think, already gave an update on this. So
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So if there are no more things to check in on, and I don't hear anyone else wanting to bring up any other discussion topics, then I think we can call this meeting. But before that, we want to see if there's any host for the next meeting.
I can take it for the next week.
Okay. Nikita. How do we record this? Let me just say. Okay. And with that, I see some action items. Oh, these are action items that just got generated today. Cool. All right. So I think if that is all, then we can call this meeting. And Alex, if you can stop the recording whenever you're ready.
We will do, and thank you again, Anik, for volunteering to lead the meeting in the last minute. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.